everything acts, in my experience, as a stepping stone to the next thing. There's no be all and end all. It's, you pick your little pieces from each
You
path
do.
that you go down.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, every path, everyone's path is going to be different. There's no right nor wrong, and there is, on some level, some kind of map that we all follow that's our own map. I mean, I found it fascinating when I began to connect with Carolyn's conference calls. It's like, as I say in my ebook, it's like these gear wheels in me started to line up. And I now understand why, because we'd made a pre-birth agreement that until we connected, I wouldn't begin to awaken any of my skills and abilities. And
Speaking of
so
your skills and abilities, you're talking about communicating with other energies, entities, crystals. How long has that been
that's,
going on for?
well, that communication side has been happening it really began to open up in around about October last year, I suppose. It's hard to imagine, but it's not that long ago. It's only about a year that I've been doing this, and it's like I feel like I've been doing it all my life. It's fascinating. It just happens so easily.
I've listened to some of your recordings, and it doesn't sound to me what I'm familiar with in terms of channeling. It doesn't sound like someone is speaking through you. It sounds like you are communicating with. Would that be an accurate description?
There are different modes of what one might call channeling. There are examples where it seems you could say the consciousness, the ego of the individual steps aside in some sense and hands over their body. A good example of that in my mind is a woman called Michelle Eloff in South Africa. If you're familiar with Michelle's work, I have a lot of time for Michelle. And she's an example of what I would call a trance channeler. The voice that she brings forth depends on who she's bringing forth, whether it's Katumi or Mary Magdalene. She brings them forth in quite a different way, and so she's what I would call a trance channeler. That's not my experience. It's like, and this is how we teach others to do this work, because we teach people every day to do this, communicate with their physical bodies and their higher selves and beings on the other side. We teach them how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's this voice inside my mind, if you will, that I hear. I hear the words coming forth. And as you begin to trust it, you get to the point where you can simply bring the words forth as they come into your mind. And it depends on how important the information is that's coming to me. Sometimes I will just operate in that mode, and sometimes I will stand back and allow the information to come into my mind once or twice to confirm what I'm hearing. So, but it's like the words come into my mind is how I describe it, and most people will experience it in that way.
Mm-hmm. The beings that you communicate with seem to predominantly be from Christian scripture. Did you have an affiliation with the Christian religion or religion in general prior to these communications?
Yeah, it's interesting that you look at it like that, and certainly people judge it in that way, but really that's not the issue at stake. The issue is that those individuals, such as Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, are individuals who had roles that were associated with preparation for this time. That's what their mission was about. It's got nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever. And I can understand why you'd make those links, because that's what's happened with their work. It's been packaged up into what became the Roman Catholic Church and then spawned other Christian religions. But really, what we're about has got nothing directly to do with Christianity whatsoever.
Did you have a relationship with Christianity prior, though, yourself?
I did. I was brought up as a Protestant, I guess, and Carolyn was brought up in the Catholic Church. So there are those kind of connections, but that's not really the driver here. It's because of who and what they are, but they're not the only ones we talk to. I mean, we have individuals that have come forth in our work that we don't, for the most part, talk about. But some of the individuals that have provided some of the greatest support for us along the way, Elvis Presley is one. Nikola Tesla is another. You know, we had no idea those characters were going to turn up and assist us, and they do. They work with us every day. And as I say, this incredible 12-inch high by 5-inch wide crystal in the UK started working with us in an extraordinary way yesterday.
That sounds fabulous.
I tell you, you know, if you want people to think me nuts, there you go.
There you go. You've just confirmed it. So, what is the message that you want to get across to people about not just 2012, but in the time that we're in right now, leading up to it? And the word ascension goes hand in hand with that. So, what's your take on it? What is it? What does it look like right now?
Well, what I've come to understand is that 2012 is a very special time in the history of this planet. In simple terms, what's happening is we are returning to the consciousness that we had at the time of Atlantis, and indeed moving beyond that consciousness. There's very little evidence that remains of the existence of the civilization that was known as Atlantis, which fell finally about 12,500 years ago. Indeed, the final fall in Atlantis was the last time we were in alignment with galactic center, if that sends any shivers down your back.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the last time that we were in that alignment. In other words, half of what's called a precessional cycle, which is about 26,000 years. So half one of those cycles ago is when the fall happened in Atlantis. And that caused significant changes in the nature of the physical body. And so what's happening, beginning with the energies of the solstice of December 2012, is a return to that level of consciousness and moving beyond it. And as I said, there are those who've worked extremely hard to destroy the evidence, the artifact record, and any documented records of the existence of Atlantis. But that information will come forth again between now and the end of 2012 to confirm the truth of that civilization, so people can begin to understand what is happening, and the proof of that will come forth. So in simple terms, what life is about, if you will, between now and the arrival of those energies with the solstice of December 2012 is to prepare. And we've received the information from many sources. There are really three steps. The first is to acknowledge your Creator, because our souls are essentially, the particles that make up our souls are, if you will, on loan from the Creator of all. And if you don't acknowledge that relationship, then there really is nowhere to go in this process.